This is in response to Billy's Talking Points memo from Wednesday, February 25th, 2015, hating President Obama, or as I like to say, hating OB. Now, the reason why I would like to go into this one a little bit more in detail is that Billy throws out a lot of stuff as if it's fact, and it's not. But he indicated he didn't think that anyone could be hated any more than President Clinton until President Bush came in. And though I do agree that there was a lot of hate out there for Clinton, but let me just say a couple things real quick, is that a lot of that was just contrived hatred. Remember that stuff about Vince Foster? That was all made up. He killed himself, all right? Remember that stuff about all those airfields in Arkansas where a bomb was being dropped off while he was governor and he approved of it and he got a kickback or whatever? That was all made up. You know, who was that lady, Paula Jones? Remember, she applied on the absolute last day that the statute of limitations could have happened, and that that she was financed by a really, really right-wing conservative place when she brought that suit against Clinton. So then we go to Bush, and you know, Billy is sitting there mocking the fact that people got upset at him because he lied us into the war, that Halliburton was making all this money, and he did lie us into the war. If I can remember a couple things, one offhand was that before the 2002 election, which was an off-year election, Bush basically indicated very forcefully that if you didn't vote to give him the power to have the Iraq to go after Iraq, then you weren't being very patriotic to the United States. And I do believe that he insisted through his minions on Capitol Hill that that vote had to take place before the election in 2002. So you had to put everybody on board as being either for it or against it. And then, of course, once everyone said they were for it, because, you know, there was still a lot of sentiment going with Bush, then he went then he went hog wild. And of course, all of the things that many people were predicting then were true was that there wasn't any reason for us to go in there. We substituted Iraq for Afghanistan because there wasn't any treasure that we could loot from Afghanistan. And if I remember, one other thing is that now we're having this Department of Homeland Security thing being waged. Today's being Thursday, and maybe they'll vote on it tonight. Maybe they'll vote on it tomorrow. Boehner will cave as usual. Hopefully will. But if I remember back when the Department of Homeland Security was first coming in, Bush played the same ploy. He played the ploy that if you don't vote for the Department of Homeland Security because you got a little staffing issues going on, then you're not very patriotic. And what was going on then is that he tried to ram it through, and he tried to indicate that the Department of Homeland Security was so important that you couldn't have collective bargaining rights for the people who were there. So he was trying to get out of public sector unions. Yeah. So that's why that was going into play. So, and Bush, deservedly so, was so out of it when Katrina came around that his people had to put a CD together. Remember those things? They had to put a CD together of what was actually going on in New Orleans, because he had shown no nothing for that. But then again, so he gets in and says that yes, Obama is loathed, that he's a very controversial person, he's a big tax and spend guy, he's giving amnesty away, he retreated from Iraq, all bullshit. The ACA, no one likes, a number of Republicans don't like it, a lot of people who are on the ACA who are listening to Republicans don't even know they're on the ACA, they're happy that they get it, but don't want it to be subsidized in other areas, this kind of stuff. So he's indicating there's a lot of policy angst against Obama, and of course there is. But I would venture this, and of course the big thing that Billy is trying to point out is that people were so personal against Bush. No, people disliked his policies and said, oh, these policies are going to kill people, as in killing people of our own people in the armed forces. And, you know, we don't even know how many people were actually killed in Iraq. The downward trend, they're going to say, 30, 40,000, but it's really more like 100,000 at least. Then you had at least 1.5 million people displaced externally, and another 1.5 million people displaced internally. And God knows how much money they lost. God knows how much, et cetera, all this was put out. And of course, we've seen now with ISIL, one of the reasons why there are strong men in that particular area of the world is because of things like that. Now, if democracy could work without having something like ISIL crop up, then I'm sure that it would. But beforehand, there was this strong man thing. But no, again, the things against Obama are personal in the sense that he's Kenyan, he's a colonialist, he's an imperialist, he's a fascist, he's a communist, he's all of these types of things. And then Billy even repeats some of the people that have written to him about that, about him being a fascist. You know, and the thing is, the thing about Bush is that he relished in him in not trying to think that he was so smart. He relished in the fact that he was going to war and he was going to be a big, that he was a big man because he was going to war. And when he came in on that plane, he had that thing that was that strapped around that made his dick look that much bigger, or his crotch area, excuse me. But, he wanted to act like he was a big man, and he really wasn't a big man. And the things against Obama are personal, and we know that all this stuff is not true. We know he's not a socialist. How much is the stock market going up? We know he loves America. As someone else, I don't know who it was, Barbara Boxer, asked Bin Laden how much he loves America. She was going against, Rudy Giuliani right there. And he's not a Marxist. He's not any of these types of things. And all of that is personal. I think that it does have a very racial component to it. But then he goes in, I don't want to go into any of this other stuff Billy talked about. He brought in Hillary, he talked about the next running of the election, how Hillary can be vulnerable, about the fact that irregardless whoever's running on either side, they really shouldn't be doing this type of stuff. He doesn't believe this stuff. Of course, he uses it whenever he can. But let me just bring up one thing to end here, is that this is again criticizing Obama, that it's okay to criticize his policies, and I can understand that. But criticizing his policies in terms of the economy not being good, when Obama has tried everything to stimulate the economy and the Republicans have tried everything to halt that stimulation. And as someone pointed out that at some point in time, is that the Republicans want, they want the economy to be bad so they can have something to run on. And, that shouldn't be the way things would go. So I'm just going to end it right there. I would say that Obama is working diligently to protect us. Obama is working diligently to make the Affordable Care Act work. Obama is working diligently to stimulate the economy, and if that means that some people who are making over $250,000 have to pay a little bit more in taxes, let me just bring up something that I don't hear people talk about very much. I make considerably less than that. Now, I know a lot of people that do make that kind of money. And the thing is, if they had to switch jobs, they could make that much money and they might be able to make more. If I lost my job right now, I might not be able to make as much as I'm making right now. And if I was making, and a lot of these people are making $250,000 a year or more, they have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things to continue to make that type of money. And they're also in a good position because they have enough money to invest that they can invest more money and make even more money. And the point that I'm trying to bring out is that, we live in a great country, and people who are wealthy have a great opportunity to make even more wealth. And how much greater wealth could you get if more people are employed who are making more money, who are buying your stuff? That's why we should be taxing the people who are making $250K or more.